Hey, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Charlotte Snow, and I'm excited to be with you guys today as we help to take your education beyond the basics. And this is part of our 8-class continuing education series. And what we do here every week is we get together and we share tips and tricks on how to use essential oils and how to promote a lifestyle that encourages overall wellness. And sometimes we have bonus classes, and we have these 8 courses that we kind of teach over and over again, but we also have a few bonus classes. And I decided to kind of take us a little bit out of order today. And instead of moving forward to class number 4, I'm actually going to pop a bonus class in here. And we're going to talk tonight about detoxification and how to reduce toxicity using essential oils. And the reason why I wanted to throw this topic in right now is because we touched on it last week. And I did a little foreshadowing and showed you the 30-day detox program. And I didn't give you a lot of information about how to do that. And so, yes, detoxification and reducing toxicity and doing these cleanses is really helpful for weight loss, but it's really just helpful for an overall wellness lifestyle. And, and I really believe that as we learn to exercise and move more and drink a lot more water, and as we start to avoid toxins in our life and learn to detox, we have such a better quality of life and we have the ability to live healthy longer. I really think that this is such a vital component of a healthy lifestyle. So while it relates to last week's topic, it also goes much more beyond what we talked about last week, which was the weight loss. But I felt like we needed to plug it in here. So that's what we are going to do. So we're going to talk about how to reduce toxicity. We're going to talk about how to optimize your body's ability to detox and how you can then enjoy overall health and well-being. And we're going to give you some specific step-by-step instructions on how to detox. So first, my just basic disclaimer, this information I'm going to share with you right now is for informational purposes. And, if you're thinking about going off of a medication or starting or stopping any medication, please consult with a doctor. And if there's any reason why you need to consult with a doctor before starting a detox, please do so, because the information that I'm going to be sharing with you right now is not a substitute for the professional care of your physician. So by the end of our time together today, you will know the 5 best ways to reduce toxicity in order to improve your overall health. So we're going to talk about these 5 ways tonight. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk about gut health. We're going to talk about your personal care and cleaning products. We're going to talk about the chemicals that are in our pharmaceuticals. And then we're going to get into the Mother Nature's solution. And we're going to get into that 30-day plan. So that's my agenda for tonight, starting with why and ending with how. So this is a bucket, and I want to share with you first a little bit about what the bucket theory is all about. So as we go through life, we're exposed to literally thousands and thousands of man-made artificial synthetic chemicals and other biotoxins like mold and Lyme disease. And our bodies are designed to be able to deal with these biotoxins and synthetic chemicals. But due to a few factors like the poor quality of the food that we have, combined with the poor choice of foods that people make and the massive amount of chemicals that we're exposed to, our bodies really struggle to keep up with this onslaught of toxins that we're exposed to. So what ends up happening is our bucket starts to fill up. So imagine I've got a hose going into this bucket and it's filling up, and our bodies try really hard to dump that water out by detoxing naturally, but our bodies are just unable to deal with all of the toxins that we're being exposed to. So our bodies then take those toxins and they store it away. Sometimes they store it in our fat cells if they can. This is why detoxification relates to fat cells and weight loss, because as we detox, we shrink those fat cells. So sometimes our body stores it away in our fat cells, and other times it just puts it anywhere that it can. It can put it in those toxins in our brain, in our kidneys, our cells. And so this toxic burden starts to add up over time. And where's the threshold? What happens when we reach that threshold? Well, what happens is our bucket starts to spill over, and as it spills over, it starts to create symptoms. And each of us has a different tolerance to what our body can handle with those toxins. And we've all been exposed to different toxins in different degrees, and it's really each individual body that is so different in how it responds to those toxins that determines where that threshold is. Now, interestingly, experts believe that 100% of 100% of the US population, every single person, has traces of toxins in our body. So it's not a matter of whether or not you have toxins in your body. Okay, we all have toxins, and we know that these toxins that we're exposed to bioaccumulate, and what that means is they get worse. So that threshold that I'm talking about, that bucket keeps getting higher and higher, right? Filling up. And so they bioaccumulate every day. And at least 37% of us suffer from chemical sensitivities, skin rashes, allergies, and these things are being made that may be provoked by the toxins that are in our food, in our water. Our personal care products, our cleaning products are all making it worse, right? So would it surprise you, and I find this statistic really troublesome, but would it surprise you to know that a study identified certain toxins in newborn umbilical cord blood, and they found that there were hundreds of toxic chemicals in the umbilical cords of these babies that were tested. Of the more than 400 chemicals that they tested for, 287 were detected in umbilical cord blood. And so, it just goes to show we're exposed to these toxins before we even really come into this world. And all of these toxins go into that bucket, they accumulate, and they eventually spill over into inflammatory conditions, autoimmune issues, allergies, diabetes, possibly even cancer. And so what we know is that if we can lower the load of toxins in our bodies, that we can see dramatic improvement in our health. I mean, it makes sense, right? If we can lower that bucket, if we can lower the level of toxins, maybe our allergies will get better. Maybe our diabetes will get better. Maybe some of these inflammatory conditions that we have, rashes that we have, will improve. So let's go through and talk today about some of the different types of toxins. And I've narrowed it down, and I'm going to touch on it. I'm going to go really quick, you guys, because I really want to get to the point of how we deal with it, but I want you to understand first why. And so I want to just quickly go through a few of these environmental toxins that are some of the big bad guys. All right, so BPA, the primary exposure of BPA is in our diet. So it's also in the air, it's in the dust, it's in the water. These are other possible sources that where we're exposed to it, but BPA in food and in the beverage industry accounts for the majority of our exposure. And the CDC found detectable levels of BPA in 93% of the urine samples. And they tested thousands of urine samples from people that were between 6 years old and up. And 93% of those had detectable levels of BPA. One of the big sources here is plastic water bottles. They're a huge culprit. Even some of the dental and medical devices that are out there contain BPA. Even the receipts that you have at the store, that you get back at the store, might even contain BPA. So when you're touching that receipt, you might be absorbing it through the skin. So mercury is another very prevalent and significant toxin that is a public threat. And it is the nervous system is what's most sensitive to mercury toxicity, more so than any other organ in the body. So we're talking about the brain. And mercury has recently been documented to be associated with heart issues, with arrhythmias, and hair analysis has shown that mercury level is about 20,000. Mercury levels are about 20,000 higher in those people who have cardiac abnormalities, which is kind of interesting. Mercury has been associated with a number of neurological issues, from tremors to insomnia to personality changes, slowed mental response. And food sources are definitely one of the big culprits. We hear about fish having mercury in it, and that is a huge problem. Yet one of the big sources that a lot of people aren't thinking about all the time is our dental work, our dental amalgam fillings. The average person has about 8 of these in their mouth, which allows the body to absorb up to about 120 micrograms of mercury per day just from their fillings in their teeth. So, adults that have 4 or more of these have a significant risk from their dental work, and children even having 2 amalgam fillings can contribute to health problems. So, this is something to definitely think about. And I know when we get dental work done, we always refuse the amalgam fillings. And sometimes the dentist isn't very happy about that. And they want to do them. Some dentists want to put those in or prefer to put those in. And I always refuse, even if it costs me a little bit more, even if it makes the dentist uncomfortable, or, get another dentist. So there's a couple things that can chelate mercury, but not very many things can do that. And chelate means to be able to basically eliminate heavy metals from the body. And DMSA and cilantro are 2 of the chelators that I know of. So cilantro essential oil, cilantro, the herb, is really great to incorporate into your diet and into your essential oil usage. So another source is lead, and you can search it a little bit more online if you want. There's a way you can Google lead test kits if you want to know if there's something potentially in your house that contains lead. Sometimes old crock pots, of course, lead-based paint from, the early 70s and before, old bathtubs, some dishes. Be careful with some of those dishes, can contain lead. Another big source of toxins is PCB, which stands for polychlorinated biphenyl. So anyway, it is PCBs is believed to disrupt hormones, and they can have a developmental effect. They can also affect the immune system and the immune function, and affect the thyroid function as well. And it's possible that it even is connected to cancer. So one of the most common routes that we're exposed to PCBs, that's really not easy to say several times, but the most common route is from eating contaminated fish. And a lot of fish oil supplements that are on the market are actually contaminated with PCB. And this is one of the reasons why I love the fish oil that we use. And that's because it's molecularly filtered fish oil that gets rid of any PCB, any heavy metals, and any other toxins as well. All right, so briefly we can touch on arsenic and fluoride. These are 2 more hazardous toxins, and we are exposed to these in our environment. And studies have shown that fluoride actually reduces the IQ score in children. And, I think that there's some argument there, and I've certainly talked to dentists that are in favor of having fluoride in our drinking water. And a lot of people argue that, that's there to help prevent tooth decay. But interestingly, statistics don't necessarily always back that up, because interestingly, in other countries where fluoride is not in the water source, they don't necessarily have more tooth decay than countries that do have that fluoridated water. And really what I think is the bigger factor is actually the sugar consumption and diet. If you look at diets from different countries, you'll see Americans consume far more sugar, right, than a lot of other places. And so that's really what we should be more concerned about, I think, than fluoride. And if I were to if it were really important to you to do fluoride, I would suggest doing fluoride treatments rather than consuming it and drinking it in your water. Just do a topical periodically rather than drinking it every single day and having that ingested. So we tend to just stay away from all fluoride in general, because it has been shown to be a toxin and to affect children's brain and function and growth. So, all right, a few more. So I'm going to touch on genetically modified organisms, genetically modified food in just a minute. So we're going to skip that for right now. But pesticides. Pesticides is a huge factor. And you see man here, he's spraying pesticides. He's wearing protective clothing. Do I have another picture? Yeah, he's wearing all this protective clothing. And spraying our food. So don't we have to kind of wonder if it's so safe? Why does he have to be, wearing a hazmat suit here? Okay, maybe it's not a hazmat suit, but you know what I'm saying, right? So a lot of people say, well, it's just a little bit. You're not getting very much pesticides in your food, and it's just a tiny amount. It should be fine. It shouldn't harm us. But unfortunately, that's not true. Studies show that even a small amount of pesticides in food can reduce a child's IQ score and can also impair their brain health. So sugar, and I know you're probably not going to love this part of our conversation today. Probably not going to like this, but actually, yes, sugar is actually a neurotoxin. And when you get enough of it in sufficient amounts, it actually can be really toxic for our body. And the average American really has no idea how much sugar they're really consuming because it's hidden in virtually everything that we buy. So there's about 600,000 different food items on the shelves in America, and 80% of those food items have not natural, but added sugar. Okay, I have to say that again because it still blows my mind. Even though I know this, it still shocks me that 80% of the 600,000 items on the shelves in America have added sugar. It's so unnecessary. Sugar is literally the cocaine of the food world. It's extremely addictive. It has a similar effect on the brain as illegal drugs, as cocaine. So if you think that cocaine is bad for your brain, then you might want to change the way you think about sugar. Dr. Mark Hyman, has said that eating high sugar foods lights up your brain on an MRI like a Christmas tree. And the part of the brain that lights up is the same part of the brain that's triggered by cocaine or heroin. And this is based on research by Dr. David Ludwig. So we are eating pharmacological doses of sugar, doses that in the hunter-gatherer age would have been completely impossible to consume, completely unheard of. And we've gone from eating maybe 20 teaspoons of sugar per person per year. Think about this. We've gone from eating 20 teaspoons of sugar per person per year to 150 pounds of sugar per person per year. That's almost a half a pound per day. You guys, half a pound of sugar per day. The average kid in America is consuming about 35 teaspoons per day. There was a really interesting study done, a little bit gross picture here, but an interesting study done by Dr. Ludwig at Harvard, where they looked at two different sets of rats that were fed the exact same calories. And the only difference was that one group was fed a really high glycemic food and the other group was fed a really low glycemic food, but the calories were the same. And so after 12 weeks, they looked at the internal organs of these two study groups, and they found that their triglycerides were higher in the high glycemic group. And they had tons of inflammation, damaged pancreas, all this inflammation and fat all around their organs. And all of these differences had nothing to do with calories. You guys, think about that. They had the same amount of calories. We think it's all about calories, but it's not. It's about the type of calories, specifically the type of sugar calories, because of how it affects our insulin and how it in that glycemic index. So sugar is the leading cause of obesity, of course, and insulin resistance. And here's the scary part: 1 in 2 of our kids are going to have diabetes. That's the prediction. So flip a coin, 1 in 2 of our kids are going to have diabetes. Our children are the first generation in America that's expected to live a shorter lifespan than their parents. How sad is that? So even though we're spending trillions of dollars every year on healthcare, and despite all of our advancements in science, it's really sad that our children are going to live a shorter life than us. And something's broken. Something has to be fixed. So one of the biggest suggestions I have for you during this detox, if you're going to commit to doing this 30-day detox with us, and one of the biggest suggestions, if you can do nothing else during this detox period, is to detox yourself from sugar. All forms of it, and I've got a list if you're interested in, that has all the different names of sugar because it comes by many, many different names. If you do nothing but to your diet but change that one thing, it would be massive for your overall health. Okay, so briefly, I want to touch on food dyes. So food dyes, my son is really very, very sensitive to food dyes. But, they're not good for anybody's kids. My son, we read labels, we avoid food dyes because we have to, but really everybody should. And studies have shown that food dyes are one of the reasons why our children have learning and behavior and hyperactivity issues. So then we have hormones and antibiotics in food. And these are added. The reason why hormones and antibiotics are added to food is because they help to, they're added to our healthy livestock in order to fatten them up faster and to increase profits. That's what it comes down to, is it's increasing profitability. And as a result of that, we're creating more and more antibiotic resistant bacteria. So, you've heard of these antibiotic resistant bacteria that go around and that people die from them. I mean, part of the reason why this is occurring is because of the antibiotics that we're feeding to our food sources. And the choices that we make, they don't just affect us, they affect our kids and they affect generations. So, and so does, the changes that we make. And that's what I love about, teaching people, is that the effects that we can create by educating others, it can influence millions of people through the generations. So let's hop into, I know that was all kind of a little overwhelming and it might feel a little bit like, I don't know if I can do this. This is too much. It's too hard. But I want to talk about some simple things that you can really do that are going to make a massive difference. So I want to look at 5 simple changes that you can start implementing in your life today that can help you dump out some of these toxins from your bucket and keep them from spilling over. And so number 5 is nutrition. So number 5 is proper nutrition. And we talked about this last week. We talked about the importance of a nutrient-rich diet. And but you know what? Our food has really completely changed. And what our grandparents ate is completely different from the processed food that we eat today that's filled with chemicals. And our fast-paced society doesn't really sit down for dinner anymore and eat real food. We're eating out of boxes and packages. And there's also something else that's foreign in our body, and that is genetically modified organisms. And we introduced GMOs into our food supply back in the mid-90s. And they were introduced into our food supply again because of, same reason, to increase profits, to increase profitability. And unfortunately, there were never any human trials conducted to see if these GMOs were safe. And so how do these GMOs create a toxic environment in our gut? Well, let's first start by asking, why are food allergies on the rise? You mean food allergies have skyrocketed. We are seeing so many nut-free classrooms and dairy allergies and nurses' offices that are stocked full of EpiPens. And why is that? Well, milk is the number one allergen today. So ask yourself, is there something in our milk today that wasn't there when I was growing up, when you were growing up? Yeah, there is. Because in 1994, scientists created a genetically engineered protein, and it was a synthetic growth hormone that was injected into cows in order to produce more milk. Surprise, for more profits, right? And that was injected into cows so that they would produce more milk and then produce more profits. So while this made the cows sick with ovarian cysts, with mastitis, with other illnesses, it was producing more milk. And so that was what was created. And so that created then a need for something else. It created a need for antibiotics to take care of those sick cows. So they make the cows sick with this hormone, and they fix it by giving them antibiotics. So they have to have this cycle of let me give you something else to fix something else, right? Instead of just not messing with it in the first place. So other governments saw this outside the United States, and they were like, we're not going to allow that into our food until it's proven to be safe. Our approach in the US was, it hasn't been proven otherwise, so it must not be. It must be safe. They haven't proved that it's dangerous, so it must be safe. Kind of backwards thinking, right? So then the scientists came up with the soybean crop. And guess what? They've genetically modified soybean. Now soy is one of the top 8 allergens. And then we look at corn. I've even noticed in myself, I used to be able to eat corn. And I started connecting the dots recently in my life that I can't even eat corn anymore. So why is that? I have a sensitivity to corn now. I never had a sensitivity to corn before. Well, guess what? In 96, scientists were able to engineer an insecticide that was built into the DNA of a corn seed. And as the corn grows, it releases the insecticide. So guess what happens when an insect eats it? It blows up their insides. Cool. And we eat something that blows up the insides of an insect, but we eat it and it's supposed to be fine. So as we eat these genetically modified foods, do you think they're maybe doing some damage to our bodies? We also have seen in studies that by 3rd generation in some animal studies, like in mice, that there has been sterilization by the 3rd generation of animals that were being fed strictly genetically modified foods. So we know that other countries have banned them. We yet still allow them here. Not only are they allowed, they're actually pretty much not even required to be labeled. So it makes it really hard for you and I to know what we're eating. So what can we change? What can we do about this? So let's talk about simple things. Start by buying as much organic as you can afford, and looking for if companies are offering the little non-GMO label that's on a lot of product, support and buy the non-GMO label. Even better, you could start planting a garden. I know that's not simple, and I promised you simple. So let's look at, eating real food, reading the label, look for the least amount of ingredients as possible, look for added sugars and avoid them, and buy from your local farmers markets or organic CSA box. What I have on the screen right now is the Dirty Dozen, and these are the fruits and vegetables that have the most contamination. So apples, celeries, tomato, cherries, cucumbers, grapes, hot peppers, peaches, spinach, strawberries. These are the ones that have the most contamination. So if budget is an issue and you can't buy all organic and you can't plant your own garden, then if you have to not buy all organic, then buy the non-organic from the Clean 15, because those are the ones that have the least amount of contamination. So they're going to have some, but they're going to have least. So buy organic from the Dirty Dozen. All right, let's move on. So let's talk about tip number 4. So tip number 5, tip number 5 was to look at the diet, right? Clean up the diet, clean up the nutrition, buy organic. Tip number 4 is to heal the gut. So let's talk a minute about how to heal the gut, because healing the gut is going to help you eliminate toxins. What do those two things have to do with each other? So let's talk about the gut. Scientists have found that your gut is your second brain, and that's because when you heal your gut, you usually end up healing your brain. I'm sure you've heard of leaky gut, but what you probably don't know is how common leaky gut is. And statistically, it's believed that about 90% of people have leaky gut today. And leaky gut is when you have inflammation in the lining of your gut, and it causes these small fissures to open up in the cell wall. So what happens is that bacteria and yeast and candida waste byproducts and partially digested food molecules sneak out through those fissures and then enter into the bloodstream. And then our body sees that as a foreign invader. They see these particles that are floating in your bloodstream that came through your leaky gut as a foreign invader. So our immune system goes, ooh, red alert. Let's go attack these invaders. And when they do that, inflammation happens. So we know how important our gut is for our immune system, right? We know that like 80% of our immunity comes from our gut. So isn't it interesting to notice maybe which of your kids are the ones that get sick all the time, catch everything that goes around, or maybe you're someone who is that easily catches everything that goes around. When you have all of this inflammation going on in the gut, it's a breeding ground for harmful pathogens, and it's really no wonder that people are always getting constantly sick. So here's a couple things you can do to heal up your gut. So what you can do is you can get tested for heavy metals. If you're not pregnant, you can get rid of your silver amalgam fillings that we talked about earlier, but make sure that you get them removed by a mercury-free dentist, someone who isn't just making the situation worse by just doing a standard drill on those. That's someone who's taking precautions and knows how to remove mercury. That's an option. The next thing you can do is find out if you have any food sensitivities. And it's really important to be aware of food sensitivities that you may have. Like I've become aware that I have some sensitivities to gluten. I have some sensitivities to corn. And as I eat these foods, it causes more inflammation in my gut, which causes more of those fissures and the inflammation to occur. So it's this vicious cycle. So you have to figure out what is it that I'm sensitive to. So you might be thinking, I don't have any food sensitivities. I haven't noticed anything. Well, it's not that simple, because food sensitivities are very tricky, because you can not have symptoms for up to 72 hours after eating something. It can be delayed. And so you're not associating the symptom with the food, and therefore you don't even know that you have a food sensitivity. I can tell you story after story. In the interest of time, I'll probably not, but I can tell you many stories where people have had anything from rheumatoid arthritis to eczema to skin rashes and all sorts of things, just simply by eliminating the food that was the source. And they had no idea, because it wasn't like, I ate some shellfish and had an immediate response. No, that's real. That happens, but you can have delayed responses for up to 72 hours. And so it's really tough to find it, to sometimes identify it. So you can get tested. So there's a couple ways to get, and this isn't a class on testing for food sensitivities. There's some blood tests that you can do. I really recommend that you do an IgG allergy test. It's a blood test. Now here's the only thing with IgG tests is that they're not always 100% reliable, which is why I tend to suggest, if you're up for it, doing an elimination diet to really figure out what you're sensitive to. But you can do an IgG, and it's really not that expensive. There was a company on Shark Tank that actually has, I don't remember the name of it right now, but for like under $200, they actually do a saliva test. You can send it in and they can test it. So it's simple, and it's a way to provide quick and simple answers, I guess is the way to put it. Not necessarily 100% accurate, but a quick and simple. So, and then you want to move forward from there. Once you've identified what those are, what are those food sensitivities, then you want to apply the 4 R's. And so the 4 R's are remove, replace, reinoculate, repair. And so the first R is to remove. You want to remove those inflammatory foods. You want to remove any candida, any bad bacteria, remove those things that are making our gut health worse. Then we want to replace with good food. So we're going to eat food that's going to help with digestion, help with absorption. Then we want to reinoculate with beneficial bacteria. That's our PB assist. You guys are going to see how this all comes together in the 30-day cleanse, right? This is what we're going to do. And the last one is repair. We're going to repair the lining of the gut wall. And there's a couple of key ingredients that can help us to do that repair. So we're going to use, of course, the products that are in the 30-day cleanse, like the Terrazyme, the enzyme, super important. But there's a couple of other things that you can add, like glutamine, which is an amino acid that helps to seal up the lining of the gut wall. You can use collagen. I like to add in to my smoothies, I like to add in okra, which is also really healing for the gut wall. You can make homemade bone broth because it contains a lot of those good ingredients that help to promote healthy gut wall. So these are the steps, and these are the steps to get that gut health back into alignment. And then and we go through these steps as we do that 30-day that 30-day cleanse. So enzymes, we have a product that we're going to talk about a little bit more in a minute called Terrazyme. Super, super important. But why are enzymes important? Well, if you're dealing with any kind of rash or eczema, one of the first things I would recommend for you is the Terrazyme. Why do we need enzymes? Sadly, because of the diet in this country, we have a lot of enzyme deficiencies, and that makes it hard for us to digest our food. And this is also why so many people have nutrient deficiencies. I love the saying that you are what you eat, but the truth is that's not entirely true. What's more true is to say you are what you absorb. And unfortunately, because of these enzyme deficiencies, we're not absorbing the nutrients from our food that we could be. So how do we lose the enzymes that are in our food? Well, cooking and processing food kills the enzymes that are present in our food naturally. Anytime you cook food over 116 degrees and or you process it, it's void of all enzymes. And so we have enzyme deficiencies, and then that causes poor digestion, and then that causes poor absorption. So it's really important to take enzymes daily. And what I had on the screen there are a few high enzyme foods. As long as you don't alter them and you eat them in their raw form, they're really great sources of raw enzymes. So avocados, papayas, pineapple, aloe vera, barley grass, cucumbers, garlic, ginger. I love ginger. Sprouts, wheatgrass juice, flaxseed, chlorella, spirulina. These are great sources of enzymes. So we can also clean up our personal care products. So it's really important as we're detoxing to look at where we're getting all these toxins from. And one of the key sources is going to be from our personal care and our cleaning products. I don't know if you've ever turned over your shampoo bottle and looked at all of the ingredients. Mostly you wouldn't even be able to recognize or pronounce any of the ingredients, and your body doesn't recognize it either. So we all know that it's important what we put in our body, but it's just as important what we put on our skin, just as important, maybe more important, because the chemicals that you put in your body, those toxins are at least flushed through your digestive system as a filter. And a lot of those, but when you put it on your skin, a lot of those are not being filtered and they're just going straight into your bloodstream. And some of those are those toxins that are bioaccumulating over time, continuing to do harm to the body. Parabens, phthalates are two of the most common toxins that are pretty standard in our personal care products today. So you want to avoid and clean up this part of your life. You want to avoid shampoos and soaps and cleaners that have parabens or phthalates. The average woman puts on about 9 different personal care products daily. And if you look at those 9 personal care products, each of them have at least 14 different chemicals. So that right there, before the average woman walks out the door every day, she's put on 125 chemicals, probably before she even ate breakfast. So, parabens and phthalates aren't just a problem for women. There's a great documentary. I'm not going to think of the name of it right now. Where it talked about men and fertility in men, and I'm not going to think of it right now, sorry, but it's not just a problem for women. It's been shown, studies have been shown to actually decrease testosterone levels in men, decrease sperm motility, and that's decreasing fertility. And there is a super great, maybe I'll post it on my Facebook page again, and you guys can go find it over there. Well, phthalates are increasing preterm birth. Parabens are an endocrine disruptor, so they're going to mess up hormones both in men and women. So what can we do about this? One of the things you can do to clean up your personal care products is to start being smart about how you shop. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be more expensive. I find just equally expensive products that are filled and loaded with chemicals as I do, natural products. So we can check ingredients, we can check a database, and you can get to it by going to www.cosmeticdatabase.com. And this is there's also an app associated with it, but this is the EWG, the Environmental Working Group's database, and you can search any product that you would buy in the store and see how it scores on a scale of 0 to 10 on toxicity. And I would encourage you, this is a very simple thing you can do. You don't have to go throw everything out that you have right now, but the next time you go buy soap or shampoo or dishwasher soap or sunscreen, just check the rating before you buy it, before you put it in your shopping cart, and pick the one that's the least toxic. And another thing you can do is just avoid everything that says fragrance, right? Unless you're adding your own fragrance in with what you know to be pure essential oils, then don't buy anything that has fragrance, because fragrance almost always can guarantee that it has phthalates in it, and phthalates again are going to be those hormone disruptors. So buy fragrance-free products. All right, let's move on to looking at your cleaning. So the other thing you can do is look at your cleaning cabinet. And if you go to doTERRA's blog and you look at their blog, there's so many recipes, you guys. You do not ever have to really buy another commercial cleaning product ever again. With your essential oils, with some Castile soap, with some baking soda, some vinegar, maybe some borax, you can make everything that you need naturally to clean your home from top to bottom. And it will be clean and it will be non-toxic. doTERRA also sells, of course, the doTERRA On Guard Concentrate, which is a phenomenal non-toxic cleaner that I use to clean everything in my house. So between my On Guard Concentrate, some baking soda, some vinegar, I'm good. I don't need any of those hormone disrupting. And when I walk into a house now that's filled with those fragrances, it just really bothers me after kind of cleaning that up in my own home. All right, so number 2 is to clean up your medicine cabinet. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, you guys, because you know this already. You know that drugs are chemicals too. And over time, those also accumulate in our body. And interestingly, what a lot of people don't know that I will touch on briefly is that some medications can cause nutrient deficiencies. Okay, we know how big of a problem nutrient deficiencies already are in our culture, but things like ibuprofen has actually been linked to iron deficiencies and folate deficiencies. Beta blockers have been linked to vitamin B deficiency and coenzyme Q10 deficiency. Steroids have been linked to calcium, folate, and mineral deficiencies. Antacids have been linked to folate deficiencies. So there is a time and a place. I 100% believe that there's a time and a place where we may need to use, medication in our life. But oftentimes there's a natural alternative, isn't there? That we can use peppermint oil instead of ibuprofen for a headache and not contribute to some of these problems that are being caused by the chemicals that are in our medications. All right, so let's move on to our top number 1 tip, and that is to detox with nutrient-dense foods and essential oils. And you guys are already experts in what essential oils are, so I'm not going to dig into that tonight. You know that this is powerful Mother Nature. But some of my very favorite oils for detoxification are these 3 right here. So we have Zendocrine oil, amazing for supporting healthy liver, and for supporting healthy detoxification functions in the body. Cilantro oil is a powerful detoxifier, you guys. It should be part of every heavy metal cleanse or candida cleanse that you do. It helps the body to eliminate heavy metals and to eliminate mercury. It is really important to drink lots of water, you guys. And I also like to add like chlorella, because it's an herb that helps to bind to the heavy metals as you're using cilantro, helps to bind and help the body to eliminate. But we also need water. So as we use lemon, which is any of the citrus oils, really, we talk about tangerine and lime and lemon, they're grapefruit, they're all powerful detoxifiers and should be really incorporated, I think, on a daily basis to support a healthy digestive system, to detox, to eliminate those toxins. However, we have to drink water. We have to drink water. If we don't drink water, it's like raking up the leaves in the fall and leaving them in a big pile for the next windstorm to redistribute them. We have to clean up the leaves and not just stack them into one spot, because those toxins can't get flushed out right? They can't be flushed out if we're not drinking lots of water. So when you're detoxifying, you should be drinking 50 to 75% of your weight, of your body weight in ounces. If you weigh 150 pounds, you should be drinking 75 ounces or more per day to be able to flush those toxins out. So these oils are fantastic if we're going in there and wrapping around this debris so that the body can eliminate it. But if your body is dehydrated, it's not going to be able to flush it out. All right. So again, these were my top 5. Clean up the diet. Buy some non-GMO food. Buy real food. Look for non-GMO label. Look for things that are causing inflammation in the body and stop eating them. Clean up the gut, right? We talked about the 4 R's, which I'm going to get into just right now a little bit more with the cleanse. Number 3, looking at your personal product, looking at your cleaning products. How can I start choosing and being a bigger voice with the way that I spend my money? How do I want to spend? If I'm going to buy some sunscreen, I can buy X instead of Y, and I can vote with my dollars. Number 2, clean up my medicine cabinet. If I can choose an essential oil, great. If I can do something natural and alternative first, let's do that first. And number 1, detox with essential oils. Use the lemon, use the cilantro, use the zendocrine. So in our cleanse, this is what we do. We put all of it together. Week 1, we remove, right? And hopefully you're removing the sugar, and you're removing, hopefully, I know this is a hard one, the caffeine, removing the potential foods that are causing sensitivity. Week 2, we're going to ramp up the nutrition. Week 3, we re-inoculate with lots of beneficial bacteria. And week 4, we work on repair. So this is our system, and in a nutshell, that's our 30-day program. So let's look really quickly at the products that you need to have to do a 30-day cleanse. So the first thing is the foundational support. You have to do the lifelong vitality because it's going to help to open up think about your furnace when you go to turn it on in the winter, and you go to turn on your furnace and you haven't changed your filters for a really long time. It's kind of gross, right? It blows dirty air around your house. So in order for our body to have open filters to be able to push these toxins out of our body, we have to have clean filters. And so when we use the Lifelong Vitality Pack, it helps to open up our detox pathways, helps to clean up our filters so that our body can be more efficient in how it detoxes. The next product that I talked about earlier is your enzyme, and this is really critical for honestly everybody because we are in such an enzyme deficient world that we live in right now that everybody should be putting 1 to 3 enzyme capsules with every single meal anyway. During your detox, it's even more important because it's going to help to support the digestion of those foods that you're eating so that you're absorbing those nutrients, right? The next product that you're going to need is the GX Assist. And this is where we're really going into and digging into removing those harmful substances from the digestive system. So GX Assist is really the star of the show. If there's anyone, and here's a little tip for you that is interesting. If you have anybody who goes and they start you put essential oils on them, put essential oils on their feet or on their body, and they immediately start to have some kind of a strange rash. Back off, increase water, remove all the sugar, remove all the white flour, remove those foods that are causing sensitivities, and do the GX Assist. Give it a couple months, come back and use those essential oils again that may have caused them a rash before. And I can almost guarantee you that they won't have that same reaction because they're purging out those toxins through the body, which the oils help the cells to reset, but sometimes it's a little bit rough in getting there. So GX Assist is this amazing product to help us be able to remove harmful substances from the digestive system. It contains caprylic acid and 6 essential oils. And caprylic acid is an 8-carbon fatty acid that has been shown to help detox. And it has a lipophilic structure that helps it to be easy to penetrate the cell membrane so that you can get in there and find those hostile organisms and eliminate them. So it's a powerful ingredient in this product, and this product is an essential part of our detox. It really is the star of the show. And these are the essential oils that are in it: oregano, melaleuca, lemon, lemongrass, peppermint, and thyme. And again, it's blended with that caprylic acid. So the last part of the detox, the last part of the cleanse, is that renew, where you're re-inoculating with that good, healthy bacteria. And that's the PB Assist. And it is really just the probiotic. It's a probiotic, and it contains prebiotics and probiotics. And probiotics are living bacteria that live in our intestinal tract, and they're important, and they provide really important health benefits. And prebiotics are the indigestible substances like fiber that foster an optimal environment for colonization. So it preps and it stimulates microbial activity in the gut. The next product you need is the Zendocrine, and this is going to support all of the detox organs. The body's filtering and waste management system is capable of managing a certain amount of exposure to toxins, but in our world today, as we talked about earlier, it just can't keep up, right? And so Zendocrine is what we need to go in there and to support healthy cleansing and filtering functions of the liver, the kidneys, the colon, the lungs, and the skin. And there are 2 Zendocrine products that you use during the cleanse. One is the essential oil, which is what this is, and one is the herbal. So this is the herbal, this is the oil. All right, so you use both. And again, don't forget to hydrate. So important to hydrate. We should be drinking 50% or more of our body weight in water, and use essential oils that we know are known to detox in our water. Use a couple drops in each glass of water of lemon or grapefruit or lime or tangerine, one of the citrus oils. So you can do this cleanse up to 3 months. You can repeat it every 30 days, or you can do it a couple times a year. I really like to kind of do them around the seasonal changes. So when we're transitioning into winter or summer or spring, those seem to be like really good times for me and for my body to kind of transition into those seasons. So here you want to take a screenshot. This tells you how to put it all together. So on day 1, you start out with the 5 products on the top that you see here. So you want to start with your Lifelong Vitality Pack, and you take that the entire 30 days. You also can use some kind of oil, essential oil, to support the purification of the body. So it doesn't have to be Slim and Sassy. It can be lemon. It can be, if you're doing weight loss, I would choose the Slim and Sassy. However, lemon is great. Tangerine is great. Grapefruit is great. I like to mix and match. So some days I might be in the mood for some Slim and Sassy. Some days I might be in the mood for some grapefruit. Totally up to you, but have some kind of cleanse and purification oil that you're adding to your water. The third thing that you need is the Terrazyme. So you're going to start that also on day 1 and take 1 to 2 capsules with each meal. And then the Zendocrine oil and the Zendocrine complex, 2 different products there. You're going to want to use both. The oil you can use either in your water or in a capsule. And then the complex, the detoxification complex, the Zendocrine complex, is a capsule that you'll take twice per day. Now on day 10, so once you've started this, you want to spend the first 10 days really preparing your body for the GX Assist. You don't want to cheat. You want to eliminate all sugar, white flour. You want to eliminate any possible inflammatory foods. And you want to be really diligent about using these first 5 products, because what they're doing is preparing and cleaning those filters, and so that your body can handle the GX Assist. If you just go in and you just start on the GX Assist without doing this preparation, a lot of people can have Herxheimer reactions, which is basically just a detox reaction where you might feel really yucky, and symptoms might get worse. So if you're doing the first 10 days and at the 10 days you feel pretty good, you're probably ready to start the GX Assist. If you're not still feeling great, then that first 10 days can be extended as long as necessary until you've prepared the body properly to be able to start that GX Assist. So then when you're ready around that 10-day mark, start the GX Assist, which is a 10-day course. You take the GX Assist, 1 capsule for up to 3 times a day, so you could take it with each meal. Listen to your body. with this product, because some people can only take 1 a day and they feel okay, but 2 a day and they don't feel okay. So you might need to build up to the potential of being able to take 3 of these per day, where you're taking 1 with each meal. The first time I did this cleanse, I couldn't take 3 a day. My stomach was wrecked. So I started with 1 a day. The next month I did the cleanse again. Then I was able to take 2 a day. Then I did it a month or 2 later. I did 3 a day. The reason why I started this cleanse in the first place was because I had a lot of skin issues like eczema. And by detoxing my body, by using these products, by cleaning up my gut, by getting rid of these inflammatory foods in my life, I was able to eliminate that eczema completely. So I know that this works, but I know that you have to never force the body into going too quickly. You have to allow the body and support the body in doing it at its pace. And when we use all of these products, it helps us helps the body to be able to detox more effectively, more efficiently, so that we can get to the GX Assist. Then the last stage is that last 10 days, and that's where we are re-inoculating and healing up that gut. And again, we can use those other products those other foods that I talked about earlier, the glutamine, the collagen, the bone broth, all of those things would also be really helpful for sealing up that gut wall. But the PB Assist is the last stage, the last 10 days. And you can see you stop the GX Assist at day 20 and you start the PB Assist. So that is, at a glance, that's how it works. I hope I've inspired you to want to look further into doing this cleanse and understand just why it's so important, and to just live our life in a way that we are not putting so many toxins into our bodies that our buckets are overflowing and causing us all of these health problems. So make the changes, the simple changes in our diet, in our personal care products, in the foods that we choose, and then also be proactive in doing regular detoxes as well. So thank you guys for being with me tonight. I look forward to detoxing with you. And if you have any questions about how to do it, please post on this video. Please post on our Facebook group, and I'd be happy to help you. You guys have an amazing rest of your week. Talk to you later.